So another question we get asked is the height options. Many companies just have kind of either a one size rack fits all sort of thing, or they'll have kind of a lower and a taller rack. Well, we have three: a low pro, a mid height, and a tall. And basically what we're measuring is these arms right here. So on your low pro rack, your arm is gonna be 7.5 inches from the top of the fender up. So this bar will basically be running 7.5 inches above this. Then we have our mid, which is gonna be 10.5 inches, what we have right here. And then we have our tall rack, which is gonna be 17.5 inches. So you may ask, why do you have different sizes? What is the purpose of all these sizes? Well, it's personal. What are you gonna be using it for? Our most common rack we sell is our mid-height rack. The reason that's the most popular is because if you put your rooftop tent on the mid-height rack, it's not gonna really stick up above the roof of your truck, causing extra wind resistance, noise, stuff like that. With the mid-height rack, if you're putting a rooftop tent on there, the rooftop tent, when all closed up, is gonna sit just about flush with the roof of your truck. Now we get into our low pro rack. Why do people like the low pro rack? Well, the low pro rack is really tight on the truck. It sits really nice and clean. Some people who don't need as much room as they would for the mid-height like the kind of sleeker, skinnier look that the low pro rack will have. Now for the tall rack is another very popular option. The reason a lot of people like the tall rack is if they have a roof rack already on their truck and they want the rack to sit up high so that they can put stuff across the top of the bed rack and the roof rack at the same time. Another reason why they like the taller rack is because when you have your tailgate down and you're trying to get into your bed, it can be kind of tight between the floor of your bed and the bottom of these bars with a mid-height or a low pro rack. With that taller rack, you get an additional 7 inches. So if you're putting in dog kennels, big coolers, larger items, you're not gonna really have to have as tight fitment when doing so. So when customers ask what size rack should I go with, it just gotta think about how are you gonna be using the rack? What do you wanna use it for? When you go on your trips, what are you taking with you? What are you putting in your beds? And that should be able to answer what height rack you want.